Lockdown Workshop. Welcome. It's a bit warm, so the camera will probably break very shortly. So what have we got tonight? I thought we'd do a bit of a how-to on tubs, seeing as they're quite rare now. I think a lot of the pro riders still ride them, but most people are going towards tubeless. So I don't know if I've shown these in the workshop. These are something I picked up a couple of months ago off Facebook Marketplace. I only paid 90 quid with tyres and a cassette. There's two of them, Exhibit A and Exhibit B. One of the tyres have got a slow puncture in. One of them, and they're both 25s, and I generally ride 23s on tubs. So I want them for a hello. Welcome back to the Lockdown Workshop. Right, so yeah, Reggie Jr. is up on the stand again. We are now in episode 255 of Hunt the Clunk. It's still clunking. So we need to have a look at that. We need to. So I pretty much established. Let's just have a quick rerun of what we've been up to for this one. So we swapped out the bottom bracket. When we built it up new bottom bracket, everything. It wasn't. Oh, there's a flash of light over there. It wasn't. For some reason, I didn't think it was seated properly, and it was clunking. So I took the bottom bracket out, and because you end up destroying the bottom brackets when you get them out, I ended up replacing the bottom bracket. I had two anyway, so I put the carbon one in. That I've got, the ceramic one that I've got, put that in. That was clunking within a week. So I knew that it wasn't the bottom bracket. So I figured it was there was something more going on, or it was possible that it was something else I hadn't changed, and maybe it was the crankset. So I changed all the bolts on the crank. It was still clunking. I then lived with it on and off for about 6 months before it really started to irritate me. And as it happens, I just bought a new crank at that point. So we inserted a new crank. It was still clunking. In the meantime, then I rode it round for a few rides with the new crank on, and it was clunking. It was actually starting to sound a bit worse. So one of the other riders that were riding with suggested it might be actually the freewheel hub bearings. So free hub bearings. So I took the free hub off and did find there was a little bit of play and graunchiness in one of the bearings. So I replaced that. Went out on a ride, still clunking. So that was the last video we did. That was Hunt the Clunk. That was that one. Now, roll back to when I first did it. One of the first rides I took this bike out and it was clunking. One of the other riders then, who I actually probably should have listened to, I'll give him some credit, Paul Bennington. Absolutely phenomenal triathlete and cyclist. There you go. Your head's just swelled and you won't be able to get out the door. He did say that he did call it at the time, and I think he was right. He said it's probably an elliptical. You've got an elliptical or an ovoid bottom bracket. So it's that is something. It doesn't happen very often. It's usually caused by a manufacturing flaw, or somebody's put the cups in incorrect. Now, I bought this bike as a frame, and it was explained that it was a surplus frame from when Holsworth were running the Tour de France team, and it was one of the surplus frames they had. Now, it wasn't clear whether it had been used or not. It didn't look like it had been used. It got all the packing things still on it, but you can put them on. What I did subsequently find out later, when I got knocked off this bike and the forks got damaged, when I come to replace the forks that were on it were actually from a medium or large frame, not from a small or extra small frame. So these weren't the original. The forks that were on weren't the forks that were correct for this frame. So the angle of the fork was slightly wrong. I think they were tucked back slightly, which explains why I used to really catch my feet on this. It's a shame because it's actually quite an aggressive geometry on it. I put the correct forks on it. Didn't make the clunk go away, but it did get me then thinking, well, I wonder whether somebody had made this frame up, even though they'd not used it, and then just taken the bottom bracket out and sold it. So it is more than likely, there are only now two possibilities of what this could be. It is either a deformed, whatever, ovaloid elliptical bottom bracket, or the frame has a defect in it, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to go for the first one, because if we go for the other one, basically the frame's scrap anyway, because I won't ride a frame with a defect, particularly something like that. Remember the one I retired, I got some fracture marks down there, and that was clicking and cranking. So we'll take that out. We're going to take the bottom bracket out. It's got there was one other step we did. When we took we took the bottom bracket out the third time, and the third install of the bottom bracket was actually a conversion to an exo bearing. So these are push fit 30 bearings that sit inside the frame. So what I bought was a CNC collar that screws into the frame, and then you screw the bearing cups onto the outside of it. So what I need to do now is have a look at this and see if I can bond it in, basically. So I'm going to take the crank off, take the bearing shell out as it is, and then have a look if I can put some, what they use on cars for seating bearings, in a sloppy and in a loose fitting environment. And what it does is it expands slightly as it cures. It's a bit like liquid thread lock, but slightly different, but it's the same principle, but it expands. So, and that hopefully then will fit it. Some of the others suggested packing it with grease. And then somebody suggested that was a bad idea because the grease could damage the bottom bracket. Well, to be honest, the bottom bracket's already damaged anyway, which is the point he made. But then also somebody else made the point, well, you can grease these because it's actually a sealed resin thing anyway, so the grease shouldn't make any damage to it. So not too bothered either way, but what we're going to do is get that bottom bracket out. So I need to take all the slack out of the chain I can. I could just pop the chain off, but let's just do it this way. What we will do also is take the wheels off. I can't see the point of having any extra weight on there. And then what we can do with them when we've done at the end, we can stick them wheels that were in the last series that we put the tubs on and just see what they look like. Because I won't mind doing a ride with them on just to check they're all right before I race with them. It's thundering now. Be interested to see what the weight of these are compared to the weight of these over here. Yeah, there's not much in it. They are slightly heavier, but these are fairly light wheel, these Sonders, but there's not much in it. Obviously, there's a big chunk of block on there. Where you get the benefit with those big profile wheels is the inertia. And also, they just cut through the air. You hear them, they just sound fast. Right, let's get that off. Already out. So this is actually the crank that came off the Giant, and we switched it for the power meter that was on here. I am looking for a Giant power meter so I can put the carbon one back on here, because this is a very, very, very light frame and setup. I'd say it might be slightly lighter than the Giant, it's just not as stiff. But we're not going to sell this bike, we're going to probably keep it for a winter bike, unless I can really fix this clunk. But we'll see. We will see. It's really banging it down there. Let me just move Ken's bike out of the way. If you can hear that, it's really hammering it down out there. Right, you've seen me do this a million times, so I'm not even going to swing it round. Just going to do the tensioner. I'm going to put that in the way. And I do need a little picky bit just to flick it up and out of the way to get there's a retainer clip. I think you've seen that as well many times. So I just need to, that's it. So that's the retainer clip popped out. Just simply pop this out now. It should come out nice and easy. The chain's decided to launch itself around. Give that a clean up as well. That's all over my fingers. What we need to do now is get these out, because I can't remember how they went in. I may not need two. That's irritating. Oh, they're for the new small ones. It's just Shimano decided to change it. That's the one for the big one. Yeah. There's an argument you shouldn't be doing these up more than hand tight anyway. But given that we've had a lot of issues with it, I can't find the big one. Where's the big one? Here. So left, right, so this should be right hand thread to come out. It says. Perhaps it isn't. Perhaps it's the one that's the opposite way around. That was right first time. It feels like it's coming off now. It appears to be coming apart. Yeah, it looks like I did grease it. So it's got a rubber seal on it. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to clean this off and see if I can see any signs of well, it's possibly been moving in the frame. Now, it could be the inner sleeve that's actually moving in the frame as well. It does feel very. Now, somebody actually said you should be using an assembly lube on it. Now, I can definitely see that there are some damage marks on this bracket. Now, if it's just damage to the bottom bracket area, I'm not so bothered about that, because that will be fine. If anything fails there, it's not going to be a massive issue. Yeah, so still get the other one out on the other side now. Oops. I believe that these must have been press fitted. This one would have been press fitted in. So we might have to get the what we might have to do with that is actually get a puller on it and pull it out. Just got to be very, very careful how we do that. Right, let me bring it. Let's try to build this one up so I can get the so what I've done is I've junked a couple of the things together and the collar, because what I need to make sure is that the the bit that cranks down on it is well away from the frame, and that is, I've just cleared the frame. So what I've done is the collar's got a particular size, and two of the inserts, the outer edge of the collars, the outer edge of their collar's the same, so it should hold it in roughly the right place. And the one on the inside sat in nicely inside, so it shouldn't damage the threads. So what I've got to do now is when I wind this back in down there is just make sure that that's yeah, the camera keeps cutting out. I think it's the heat. Oh, there we go. Well, right. So I've cleaned this with brake cleaner just to make sure it's not contaminated. We're just going to put some 2 beads of it in and put 1 bead round there. Put 1 bead on the inner piece. And then we'll press it in. Hope for the best. Well, I'm not going to press it in with the tool. I'm going to use this to pull it in. So same thing again. We're going to put the bead of that around there. But before I do that, I just want to put some grease on the thread to help the thread, because there was loads of grease on it when we got it. So we'll put some more on it now since I've just cleaned it all off. Same thing again. We'll just squirty some of this on. What we would if we hadn't just locked it. Should be able to feel the thread, and then all you've got to do is just tighten it in. We'll tighten that one, should pull the other one in. You're not going to be able to see that because we're on the other side. But what I don't want to do is over tighten it. Tried that in another episode of Hunt the Clunk, and it didn't make any difference whatsoever. That's about as far as I want to go. Right, has it started pulling it in? No, it hasn't. The frame is not playing ball. Still got a gap. It's difficult because the frame keeps moving away as I'm trying to press on it. It's okay actually there. No, it's just sucked it in another little bit. I can still feel a ridge behind it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick a thing on and suck it in. Just got to find the right one. One of these, 24mm, could be that one. What we're going to do here, it's the same as we did take it off, but we're going to use it to drive this cut back in. I'm trying to pull it in. I really shouldn't be doing that. I should have press fitted it in, to be honest. start off with, which is what it says on the instructions. It says it on the side of the bracket itself, so we'll just give that a quick. Right, that's in. You can see it's closed the gap up now. So just quickly wind that off. Get this and tighten this one up. That's it. That's it. That's on. So hopefully now we'll let the Loctite do its thing. Just run off the excess because I don't want it on the frame. Now I'm not going to put brake cleaner on this just yet until it's gone off, because it does cure apparently. Yeah, it's plenty squeezed out the other side. So I'm hoping this fills up in all the gaps and inadequacies and all the damage on the frame. If this doesn't work, we are going to bond it in, and then because I'm not planning on getting rid of this, I'll just live with it. And then if I wear the bearings out, or I do decide to sell it, we'll just have to explain that when they do the bearings, they're going to have to pull these plastic caps out, these things here, and switch the bearings that way. So these do come out quite easy. I think I did get them out with my fingers last time, but just a ruler or something behind them pops them out, and then the bearings actually just there, but the bearings feel fine, to be honest, so I can't see that being an issue. Right, so that's that fixed. I'm not going to put the thing back in just yet, because I need to. I do need to see it. It's got a big chunk out of it. I do need to see it. I want to clean it up before I put the everything back together, and then we can go and give it a test. I might take it out this Thursday if we've got a club outing. If we're doing a TT or something, I might stick the silly wheels on, and we'll go and give it a wang round, and then we'll see. So just so you can see what it looks like. We will stick these on now so you can have a look. Just make it harder to do this. So I'll have to take these back up again when we. See what these look like now. I tried it before with them, but with the older tubs on. And it looked okay, but the tubs looked a bit of a state. It's over tighten then. We're going to keep the dirty mitts off the nice cloth tape. Oops. Don't put them on the wrong way around. That's just a mock up. So we're going to take them off and we put the. We'll get there. It was the new guy. That'll be why. Somebody hasn't wanged these out enough. So well, it's like. Ooh, look at that. Looks fast, doesn't it? Now, quite pleased with that. Looks good. We'll see how it runs and rides, and then we'll make a decision what we're doing with it. But hopefully that's fixed the problem with the bottom bracket. We haven't used that much of this, to be honest. I don't know how easy it is to get this apart. Some people suggested this is similar to. It says retaining compound, so it's supposed to do exactly that. So it's to stop the bearing from spinning on the shaft. It swells up. It says high strength, so we'll see. I think some people use this as thread lock as well, red thread lock. So we'll see how we go with that. Hopefully, job is a good one. Right, I'll bring you back when I'm ready to put the chain on. I don't know what the curing time is. I suspect it's about 24 hours. So it's going to probably be sometime tomorrow or Tuesday, possibly Wednesday when I look at it. But anyway, right, that's it for now. Catch you later. Right, Shwoop. Welcome back. It's me. Apparently, I don't introduce myself. So my name's Mark. I'm your host of the Lockdown Workshop. Yeah, I know. Anyway, right, we're back on this one. I don't think it's a new episode. I think we're carrying on from a last one. We're mucking about. We stuck the wheels on because we were waiting for that to set up before I could clean it down. So we'll just get the wheels off. We'll just have a look, see how they looked. You know, it's just easier to get the bottom bracket on without any tension on the chain. You can do it, and you've watched me do it. It's just easier. And I don't know if these are staying on or not, so we'll shove them over there. They do look rather magnificent. Can't wait to have a go with them. I could have been out tonight riding, but I went out this morning instead. Right, let's just give the frame a quick clean in the areas I can't get to. If I can find my squirty cleany bottle. There's some muck around there, I noticed. So there's usually areas that you can't get to when the cranks are on. So just be careful not to get it anywhere near the centre of the bearings. They are sealed bearings, so it shouldn't be a problem. But it is degreaser, so there's an argument. And some people will tell you, oh, it'll destroy your bearings and it's the end of the world. But I've lightly squirted it on. I've not forced it in like you would do with a pressure washer. So just use this as an opportunity to get all my dirty paw prints off it and try and remove any residue of the stuff we were smearing all around the other day, because no doubt I didn't actually get it off. I just smeared it around the frame. So the chunks missing out of the bottom of there. Let's get going with the old orange touch-up again. It's amazing how quickly these frames get dirty in places where you can't reach them. Which is why every now and again, it doesn't hurt to give them a good strip down and a clean off. I know. Check me out saying things like that. I've been out this morning on the Propel, and I'll be honest, I have got it a little bit mucky again. Doing a bit of off-road at this junction that's a bit of a pain up the backside. Just slide down that way a bit. It's getting on my nerves. It keeps trying to spin off. So I thought I could chunk this in there as well, but it's nice, just a bit of sticky stuff. It must have been something I've wiped off the. Yeah, there's definitely some sticky residue on here. I suspect it's under there. I'll have to try something a bit more. Try a bit of brake cleaner on it this time. I think some of the residue of what we squirted in there must have ended up at the bottom, or it is just scuffed. That's all right. Problem with carbon frames is the paint seems to chip really easily on them. You can see there's some scuffs in it there. A big chunk missing out there. That was done at the cafe stop. That's somebody's pedal that's done that one. I'm a bit pissed off at that, to be honest. Right, let's stick this on. The usual thing, make sure there's liberal amounts of grease around the wearing surfaces and on the splines. That's the one thing for the Shimano setups, particularly this Holotech thing. They've had this technology for ages. They've not messed about with it. Do you know what? It just works. It does. Right. tensioner. I could have sworn I thrown it in here. Here it is. So you've seen me do these. It's that's the cap that goes in the middle. You screw that in and it pulls that arm onto the centre of this crank. And the idea is you do it finger tight. Anything more than finger tight is too tight. Because with these bearings, the way these cups work is they are free. They are not loaded. So the only loading you put on the bearings is what you put on tightening with your fingers. So it's literally finger tight. So the idea is you don't want any inward pressure on it, but you don't want it to slop from side to side. So it's just enough to nip it up, finger tight, not excessively, stupidly finger tight, and then that's it. Now some bearings have a centre shell, so you know we've stripped down the back wheels on some things. They've got that centre collar that sits in between the two bearings, so they're pinned effectively, and usually there's a shim, so you've got exactly the right amount of loading before it nips that tube in the middle. There isn't anything on these, so it's got to be literally finger tight. So you've got to be really careful with them. So I do suspect that a lot of the knackered bearings I get coming in are as a result of people over tightening them. Anything that's got knurling on means it's finger tight, doesn't need to be any tighter. We'll use the new one, so it's 12. So that's 10, 11, 12. So it's 12 to 14, I think. So we'll go 13. Pretty sure it's 12 to 14. I need to take that off as well, because that's actually that's the unit for the Garmin cadence sensor. And this is not going to be going back on the Garmin, because the other one's living there, and even if I do decide to put that other crank back on here, it'll be because I've got a Garmin Power one on the other one. Apparently your battery's getting flat, so I'd better hurry up. Do you want to see what I'm up to? I've come round here, I've seen all the bits I've missed. Look at that. I missed that. I think I missed that bit. I think I've just put that bit on, to be honest. God, I'm stiff today. Right, what do I do with me torque wrench? Pothole. So we'll get it nipped up almost with this one. This is the only downside to doing it without the again, is that the chain is dragging on the frame. So, given as we've got a gadget, we might as well use it. We'll just put filthy paw prints all over. Happy bunny. Better than dragging the chain across the stays. Right, so first tighten. There we go. The click on this this tool is very subtle. You don't feel it, you don't hear it. It's very quiet. There you go. What is up with this? Oh, it's because of crossing. It's because we're crossing. It's happy now. So as you tighten at one side, it takes some pressure off the other side. So you have to keep going back a couple of times until it goes straight away. There we go. All good. Oh, me. I'm going to try and be untidy and put tools back in the holes as I've used them. It just gets massively out of hand. Right. Put that one away. Best gadget weld. They do one for through axles as well, which is quite good. It's effectively just one of them that sits on the through axle. So I have cheated and taken that off and put it on the through axle itself, just for a laugh. Right. There was a reason why I thought I didn't need to put these on. I can't remember what that was. So we are gonna put them back on. What I might do is if it hadn't been for the fact I've only just put new tyres on the Campag wheels, because the Campags I've got are tubeless, and they're probably going to end up being the winter wheel now, because my Planet X is a little bit, I'll say, worse for wear. They're getting on a bit now. There we go. Don't know why it was being awkward. That's not centered. That's a bit better. The wheel's dragging on the brakes. It's more than certain that you've not put the wheel back in properly. Tilt it down slightly because I'm sick of this front end going walkabout every 2 minutes. Looks good to me. Right, that, my friend, is ready for a test run. Just check everything's good. First check when you put another wheel on, because they could be slightly spaced differently, and it only takes a couple of millimetres for them to be out. Ultiga have just changed so well. By far the best value group set that Shimano do, even in the Di2. No, happy with that. All's good. We'll get that down off the stand. we'll close it there. I don't know if I'm in frame or not. Anyway, right. Let's see if this works. It might be a few weeks before I get to try this out. I am planning on using this for the triathlon relays. If you're not into triathlon and you don't live in the UK, you won't know about the triathlon relays. But even the volunteers, the T-shirts that they have, I think it's sponsored by Hoob and somebody else. It might be a Outlaw Run one. I can't remember who runs it, but it's run on behalf of British Triathlon, and it's the British Triathlon Relay Championships. So it's a point scoring event, but it's a right laugh. It's open to anybody. You have to qualify. Anybody can sign it up. Our triathlon club usually takes between 6 and 10 teams. So a team is 4 people, either 4 men, 4 women, or 2 men, 2 women in a team. And the idea is you swim 500 meters, so it's not quite a sprint, it's a few variations. It's within the Nottingham Home Pierpoint water park thing. There's camping there as well at the country park that's there. Massive, great big regatta lake that's about 2 kilometers long. This lake, yeah, it is 2 kilometers long. And what you do is basically you jump in, you swim around your 500-meter loop in the lake, you come back out, you get out, you tig your next person in your team, they jump in 500 meters round, they jump out, tig the next person. When the last person swims, he gets out and tigs the first person in who stood there at his bike. They go off and they do 3 laps around the regatta lake. Now a lap of the regatta lake is about 5k, so it's only a 15k ride, whereas a normal sprint triathlon would be 20k. But it's flat. It's literally flat. It's flat and it's concrete, and it's a big rectangle. So you get to the end, you do a 90 degree. You go across, you do 90 degree. You come back down. It's a little bit wider at the bottom as you kind of take a swing round the staging area in the car park, but it's quite, you know, tight, severe turns. So if you are a good rider, you can carry on pedaling around the corners, right? You shouldn't have to drop your speed. I can usually make up 3 or 4 places, even against the TT bikes with the full diffs on. I'll take 3 of them on a turn, and then possibly only 1 or 2 of them will re-overtake me on the straight, and then I'll take them again on the next corner. And at the ends, you've got 2 corners in close succession, so I can usually make up 6 or 7 places on a lap. And I'm not a fast cyclist. I'm just technically good on corners. And you tend to find a lot of the triathletes, the ones that are on the bikes that are going really fast, aren't that good a cyclist, not technically anyway. They've got plenty of power and grunt and gusto, but they haven't got the bike craft, I think they call it. But anyway, that's still moving, that one. And then when all 4 of you have done that, then the last bike comes in and he tigs the first runner. So it's your first person off again, and they run round the regatta lake, and that's 5k. So by the time you've all done that, you've all done pretty much a sprint triathlon. But you get like half an hour to an hour in between having to go or longer. So we usually have the event tent there. It's full of food and drinks and stuff, and we're there for the weekend. And it's just a great old laugh, to be honest. It's absolute chaos because if you imagine there might be 100 teams in the morning and 100 teams in the afternoon. I think it might be more than that. So that's like 400 people. It's just absolute carnage. And all the support people have "We organise the chaos" written on the backs of their shirts because it's just so much fun. So if you ever get a chance to do it and you're into that kind of thing, do it because it's a great laugh. If you want to have a look, I'm sure if you Google it, you'll see it. It's just absolute carnage, especially at the handover areas, because you've got about 30 people waiting to do a handover for the run, and you get people screaming in way too hot, and you've got to take your bike with you, chuck your bike on this rack, and then dive over the top of these massive, great big hay bales to try and pass the band to the next person on, so you've got to find them. and there's invariably somebody who's not turned up because they're still sat on the embankment or they're in the toilet. And I think we got down there early for our handover by about 20 minutes, so we were hanging around waiting for our team to come in so we could go. And there was one bloke, he come in and he was waiting 25 minutes for his mate to turn up. And then when he did turn up, he went to the toilet. So he got some rate abuse. But anyway, right, I'm waffling on. But anyway, right, jobs are good with this. Hopefully we've fixed the clunk in the elliptical bottom bracket. It's now I've had a proper good look at it, and it's been like that for a while now without touching. I can see it's wearing. It'll be fine. It's no detriment to the frame. I could ride it for the next 50 years and I wouldn't wear it through to the point where the frame will fail. It might become more sloppy, but then at that point you just pack it out anyway. Or I go back to doing what my original plan is anyway, and that would be to bond it in with some araldite or some resin. So that's another option, is to put some resin on it. I mean, I could try redoing it, put a layer of released gel around the inside of that shell, paint the inside of the bottom bracket with some of that stuff I used to fix the wheel, the gel coat, paint the inside of that, press them in, and then when it's set, pull them back out again, and effectively that will reform the bottom bracket to the right size. And that would do it as well, because I've got the release paste on. I'd still be able to get the bottom bracket out. But we'll see how we go with this. It's designed to hold bearings in a hot engine casing on a drive shaft that's spinning at God knows how many RPM, 7,000 RPM. So if it can hold a bearing that's loose in a machined engine case, then I'm sure it can pin that so it doesn't creak. So we'll see how we go. Anyway, but can't wait to have a go on it, actually, see what a difference these wheels make to it, because I'm really enjoying the slightly I don't know. I think the 60/40s on the Pro Pal. These are 90s, but I think it's 90 from there to there. Whereas on the Pro Pal, it's measured from 60 from there to the rim. So get a ruler on it. I know they're 90s. I know they're definitely 90s. Right, so the 90s to the bottom edge of the rolling surface of the actual thing is more like about 80, but I'm pretty sure they're 90s because they look like 90s, and these were the biggest ones they did before you went into the full dishes. So no, they're all right. Anyway, right, well, I hope that's been useful. I've been rabbiting on a bit here, and we'll see if we can get the old girl going again. She's not too bad. She's ended up with we've got an 8,000 crank on it now because that came off the Pro Pal. We've got 8,000 there. We've got 8,000 there. We've got 6,800 for the brakes, but there's not that much difference apart from the release lever folds all the way under, so you can actually open them out a bit further. And the shifters, I can tell you now, are almost identical. I cannot tell the difference. I think they changed the hoods slightly, but I put money on most of the internals are the same. So anyway, we'll cut it there because I'm waffling now. On to the next project. Bit of bonus footage. We'll swap this seat over. One of my mates, Lee, kindly gave me a spare seat he'd got. I think it's off a Giants, or it came from the Giants shop. He's got a few saddles that he'd bought to try that he hasn't ended up using, and this is a BMX saddle, so it looks a bit, I'll be honest, it looks a bit now. So we're just gonna swap it out if I can get it off. There we go. And it even matches the frame. We got there. Well, we thought we got there. We got there, but then it fell out. Put that in the middle. Put the nose down. I do like these. They are very easy to adjust. There we go. That might be a bit the other way now. Trouble is, I'm doing it up in the air, and the crossbar's not straight either, which isn't helping a great deal. I think that's all right. Back in the box, it'll be tidy. Right, job's a good one.